Hello, this is Socially Triggered, and this video is going to be about the wage gap and feminism. Today was the Women's March, and I wanted to make a video kind of related to women's issues. I wanted to talk about the wage gap. So the wage gap myth has been debunked many times before. My goal in this video isn't necessarily to debunk the wage gap myth, but to show why it is evidence for women's freedom and our society's embrace for the female role. Let's first understand the wage gap. The basic statement of the wage gap is that women get paid 23% of what men do for the same job. This is not what the wage gap is, but frequently it is what feminists will claim it is. A better way of phrasing what the wage gap is the following. If you find the average pay of all men versus all women, you will find that on average, men earn 23% more than women. This means that you're not considering all the factors, like the number of hours worked, the amount of overtime, the type of job, workers' qualifications, and whether they sought an increase in pay. When you look at all these factors, there is no difference between what a man and a woman gets paid for the same job when they work the same number of hours and have the same work experience. This is the basic debunk for the wage gap myth. Pretty simple and obvious, which makes one wonder why people still perpetuate it. As I said, debunking the wage gap isn't the purpose of this video. Instead, I want to look at why there is a difference in the earnings between men and women, and what that really means. When the feminist movement first started, women had very little choice in society. They couldn't seek a career, and they were forced to stay at home and take care of the children and tend to their husbands' needs. They were not seen as equal members of society, had few rights, had little access to education, and could not vote. Strangely, studies have shown that women were generally happier when this was the case. However, the feminist movement sought to free women from the shackles of the patriarchy. As a result of early feminists, women were given a choice. This was a big win for women for almost 100 years ago. However, feminists didn't stop there. They didn't just want equal treatment under the law, but they wanted women and men to be actually equal. Yet biology cannot be denied. Women and men are different, and as a result of those biological differences, women and men make different choices. Studies of early development in children show that girls show a distinct difference in interests from boys. Girls tend to favor people, and boys prefer things. This is seen in studies where they'll show babies different objects, and boys will tend to spend more time looking at pictures of things like trucks, cars, and planes, whereas girl babies will prefer to look at pictures of faces. This simple preference gets played out later in life, in the careers that men and women choose to enter. People-oriented professions like nursing, teaching, social work are female-dominated, whereas things-oriented professions like engineering, science, tech, and computer science are male-dominated. Often these male-dominated fields are higher paying because they are associated to fields where there's a higher market demand for that work. So men can make more just due to the choosing of fields which pay more. Feminists will say that these fields are only dominated by men because of sexism. However, despite over 30 years of efforts to encourage women to go into more male-dominated fields, the gender disparity remains. We take away from this that women know where their interests lie, and no matter how much our society tries to tell them to change, they are able to still make the choice which is in tune to their own interests and desires. Feminists have failed to make these women into men. So when we see disparity, rather than conclude that women are oppressed, we should conclude that women are free to be women. Another important freedom the wage gap tells us about for women in our society is the freedom to be cared for. Women always had a special place in society. They are a protected class. When a ship sinks, it's always the women and children first. Men go off to fight in wars, and women are allowed to stay away from harm. Traditionally, men provide financially for women. Today, with women in the workplace, this protected status has lost some of its luster, but it still exists. Young single women will often earn more than young single men. Women will seek success in the workplace as a means of finding a good man. Single men often put less priority on making money because they don't need to earn much to live. However, when women and men get married, their priorities change. Women will choose to work less hours in order to spend more time with their children, whereas men will focus on working longer hours in order to provide for their families. Women choose this path because they prefer to be with their children. The nurturing instinct in women is very strong. Men's natural instinct is to be a provider and protector, and this also kicks in, and that's why we see the shift in their focus. As a result, men earn more in order to give more to women, and to give women more freedom to be at home. According to the U.S. Board of Labor Statistics, among employees, men worked on average 8.1 hours per day compared to 7.3 hours for women. This is about a 10% difference between the hours worked by men and women. These stats include all ranges, so you would expect the difference would be even greater if you looked only at married men and women. This is the balance of the gender roles, where men focus on work and providing while women focus on child rearing. Possibly, if women had more freedom of choice, there would be even a greater gap in the hours worked. One problem in our modern society has been the costs imposed on the family, that it requires both parents to work. I remember the line my father always told me, that one parent works to feed the family and the other needs to work to feed the government. So, a high wage gap means a greater freedom from the workplace for women and the ability to be the caregiver that nature intended them to be. So to conclude, the wage gap is a myth because it doesn't look at the choices men and women make. The wage gap, instead of showing an unfairness towards women, actually shows that women have more freedom to choose the career they want to pursue and the life they want to live. One concern I have for women is the current push in our society to treat men and women as the same. Women aren't the same as men, and gender roles are important for the happiness of women and the success of future children who these women will raise. This has been Socially Triggered. I hope you enjoyed this video. And please like, comment, and subscribe. I'd like to hear your feedback on this issue. Is the wage gap a sign of women having greater freedom, or is it a sign of women being oppressed? Give me your feedback. Thank you. Bye.